Didn't happen in 49, 61, 63 or 69 when they reached the final. But the class of 2021 have delivered. Leicester City are FA Cup winners at last and are history makers at Wembley.
Hello, Matt Elliott here.
Hi, Alan Smith here.
Hey guys, Ian Hume here.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here.
Be sure to watch
Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV
for all the latest Leicester City news and information.
You can also subscribe on YouTube and various social media channels
for the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Come on, you foxes!
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open.
For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise,
visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website.
They have blown their rivals away. They have blown us all away in truth. Premier League champions 2016. The amazing Leicester City.
Till I Die TV, your first choice for everything Leicester City. Tune in and join in now.
Right, Chris.
All right, how are we all? How the devil are we? Well, if anybody can snatch a draw from the jaws of victory, Leicester City can. I mean, you may well have seen Craig's video. He was there. You may have seen his post-match video. It's on the Facebook group, Leicester Till I Die. I think he got a little bit disappointed with Brendan. Should we just keep it at that for the time being? This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Welcome along. You can catch us on YouTube at the aforementioned Leicester Till I Die. Please give us a like and please give us a subscribe. It really, really does help the channel. And if you are listening on your favourite podcast station on Catch Up, thank you very much for tuning in. This is where you can find it.
watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Yes, indeed. We have got a lot to cover. Missing players. Players that were down the M1 quicker than a rat down a drain pipe. And we will find out how his stomach bug was today. I want to ask ourselves, how easy did you think that first West Ham goal was? It was like a knife through hot butter. The penalty, it was definitely a penalty. Yuri, is he going? Is he staying? Well, he took the penalty. And how good was Ricardo'S diving header? There's a picture of him on the internet well, he looked like Superman. Put a cape on his back, he could be Superman. West Ham's second goal. Where does your shoulder end and where does your arm start? I mean, if anybody's a doctor, is there a doctor in the house? Please tell me. And we have the result from the poll, because I've got to be totally honest with you. I forgot to announce it at the end of the post-match show on whether you wanted Rodgers in or out, and it makes very interesting reading. We're going to welcome our guests in straight after this. This is the Opposition Review Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the main event of the evening. 60 minutes of football fun and banter with Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV. Are you ready? Let's get ready to rumble.
Well, when I say fun, don't hold me to it. Don't hold me to it. I'm going to say good evening, first of all, to my wise and older owl now. Craig, good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Chris. Apart from just getting over a bit of a cold, so if the throat's a bit husky, then obviously anybody needs me to make a phone call on Valentine's night, I can do. But
I'm going to say the women will love it.
I'm all good, thank you.
Andy, who is the West Ham fan who has joined us very kindly tonight, who is also suffering a bit with the cold.
Yeah, no, I am, mate. I woke up Saturday feeling a bit. I just thought it was nothing. I had a cold actually a few weeks ago, but then it's come back. But I weren't missing the game. I woke up yesterday feeling a bit rough, but it's gonna have to be.
I feel like I should be sat here with the bell going, "Bring out your dead, bring out your dead." You should have a big red cross over you. You know, there we go.
Nothing unusual there, Chris. You're always classed as the fit one amongst us.
Well, it's cold up north. It's cold up north. I noticed that yesterday.
Up north.
Well, I'm the furthest south of all of you, so I can't say anything.
Yeah.
In fairness, it's been bloody freezing down here today, I'll tell you. Before we go any further, the links are in the description below on the YouTube, but where can people find you, Andy?
Yeah, on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. It's simple. West Ham Reunited. The reason why it's called Reunited is I'm reunited the old West Ham with the current. A lot of my viewers actually sometimes are a lot younger than me, so it's obviously doing like player appreciations and stuff like that from players who some of them might not have even been alive when they first come around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And obviously post-match and pre-match stuff as well.
You've made me feel really old now. I mean, it's usually bad enough speaking to Jake. I mean,
I've just turned 30, Chris, if that makes you feel a bit better.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You know, I split Jake. I mean, he's 14, bless him. And he's obviously, you know, Jake, don't you, from another West Ham channel? And I did a preview, and his dad came on at the end, and I'm thinking, even with his dad, I felt like the granddad. It was like the granddad, the dad, and Jake. There's a couple of comments coming in. Talking of which, here he is, Richard. Good evening, sir. How are you? Your son is running scared, sir. He accused me of running scared when I wouldn't do the quiz with him. I invited him on tonight post-show, and I invited him on the post-match. Nowhere to be seen. He is hiding under that bunk bed of his. Clear foul, Ryder on Creswell's back for your second. Well, yeah, whatever. 12-1, Big Craig header. Goff. Dr. Chris, well, I wish I was on that money, I tell you. Ankit, well done, mate. Congratulations. Ankit's a Chelsea fan. Be sure to get over there and check out if you're a Chelsea fan. He also does non-Chelsea stuff, and he also does a cricket channel as well. But apart from that, he's nice. And I want to say congratulations, and I'm sure this is going to hurt Andy with it being another London club, but congratulations on being World Club Champions. Ankit. Chelsea are the best club in the world because they beat somebody unknown from an unknown South American country. But well done, mate. Well done up there.
I wouldn't believe it, but I actually do support British sides or English sides in European competition. So well done, Chelsea.
I didn't until I watched the famous Man United Bayern Munich one, and I was feeding my youngest I was feeding him milk on my lap. And when they got the second, I actually jumped up, and I thought, well, yeah, I must like British teams then.
I think it was Istanbul what done it for me. Liverpool.
Oh yes. Memories, eh? TM Spurs fan. Good evening. How the devil are you? Don't ask them if they're well. They'll just get. It's like a hypochondriac's reunion in here today. I'll tell you. Hello to all of you. Strange game to analyse. Positive for sure for the Foxes. I'm struggling to understand arm versus shoulder. We will be coming on to that, David. And thanks a lot for joining. Thanks. Yeah, you're welcome, mate. Like you say, we are all. I'm sorry, I'm just reading another comment at the same time. I like the Brit, like Andy says, we should get behind the British clubs. And he says, big up Andy for that. And Richard says he's asleep, been poorly all day. Oh, bless him. A poorly 14-year-old. It's almost as bad as a poorly 58-year-old, isn't it, Craig?
It is indeed. It is indeed. We drag ourselves out, don't we? But
yes.
These kids, what can you say?
No. First of all, the big announcement of the weekend. I did have a panic because I went onto my Facebook just before I did this show because I've been in and out all day, so I've not really sort of had a chance to do much. And I was updating like 13 posts, and there's one that said Rodgers sacked ? And I thought, bloody hell, what have I missed? But he's not. So that's not the big news. But the big news is, and you may have seen this, I did announce it on the post-match show, but Leicester City do have a new team sponsor. They've broken away from FBS and they do have a new team sponsor. Muller Corner. They've agreed to pay to charity for every corner we can see the goal from. So there should be a charity that's making a lot of money from that. It just carries on, doesn't it, Craig? How I mean, we'll obviously come to the goal itself, but what is it with Leicester and corners?
It's getting beyond a joke, really, isn't it? I mean, it's like we're almost becoming like a rugby team to play against when rugby teams kick towards the corner so they can get a line out. I'm sure teams are starting to work out that should just play for corners because chances are in every 3 or 4 you're going to get a decent effort on goal because we just don't bother marking anyone. It is beyond a joke, to be honest.
It is. I mean, like I say, we will come to the actual goal itself later because of the controversy. But Andy, do you feel like, well, we've got a corner, this is going to be a goal with it being Leicester?
I've noticed it more when we've had Areola in goal, which is not quite regularly. So I'll probably say I think he's played like 10 games, I think, for us this season. And Areola's very different. He comes out and commands his box, but Fabianski doesn't do it. And Kasper, the size of Kasper, I'm surprised where the ball was at, he should be claiming that. Anything within the 6-yard box, even if you don't get the slightest touch, you're gonna off-put it. And if it goes in, then you've got to say good goal, or if it comes off the near post, but should be commanding your box in my opinion. I think it was poor goalkeeping.
You're right, Andy. I mean, and 6-yard boxes it should be any goalkeeper's domain. And to be honest, this day and age, we all know how protected keepers are. Just come out and run into Dawson and fall over. You'll probably get the foul, to be honest. So I don't understand it at all.
No. Although, it has been said, obviously, that he was crowded out by 1 or 2 West Ham players. But
I didn't see that, Chris.
No.
Push him out of the way and fall over.
You've got the old Wengeritis, have you?
I was right there as well. I was right, literally my seat was right in line with the corner flag as well.
Well, I mean, this was, it was 2-2, and I mean, first of all, Craig, come to you first. It was an improvement, wasn't it? I mean, for the first 20 minutes, I wasn't impressed. It kind of got better then. But when I looked at the team that we put out, and let me just bring that up here. I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, well, come on, Brendan. You dropped Tielemans, you dropped you dropped Ndidi back into defence, but you dropped players. Wow, for one game. That's punishment for not playing well, isn't it? But they then went and played pretty decent.
I think you're being kind, saying that we were awful for 20 minutes, 35 minutes, 40 minutes, I would say. We started showing a little bit of something, but that was almost a reaction to the crowd. I'm not a big fan of crowd reactions and booing and all that. I can't do that myself. I support the team. My version of protesting is to be quiet, not to boo. But frustrating. The problem is I don't know what else we would have done, what other players we would have put out there, to be honest. But I think the issue is that he was playing people out of position to try and get a formation there. You know, Maddison's been in the form of the past 18 months, playing just in behind a 1 or behind a 2. And then he pushes him out on the right wing virtually. Yes. You know, you didn't get the best of him. And then he comes inside trying to get on the ball, and there's nobody, you know, out on the right anyway. So it just looked like one of those bits where he decided on a formation and then he was just going to pick the best players. It's almost like an old England team, that is. Pick your best players, but just throw them into a formation that doesn't work.
Paul Scholes on the left, you know. It's true. I mean, I just can't believe. I mean, and of course, James Justin is injured, and that's his season over now. That kind of sums up how we're going. I mean, Andy, I've got a list here. This is every Leicester City defender that at some point has been injured this season. Bertrand, Vestergaard, Evans, Fofana, Soyuncu, Castagna, Ricardo, and Justin. That's 9 defensive players. That's not all the same at the same time, but at some point have been injured. Have you got the list of defenders who have not been injured, Chris? Let me get my magnifier out. You know, it would be shorter, wouldn't it? I mean, you must have come into that, Andy, thinking this is going to be a goal fest for us. We scored 4 past us when we started the season.
To be honest, the team, I'm a huge Justin fan. My person I work with is a Luton fan. So as soon as, even, be surprise, whatever Leicester or West Ham player, we had scouts look at him, but obviously nothing happened. So when we were sort of, like, you heard the whispers, I was like, I'm going to keep an eye. I'm a huge fan of him. But to be honest, like you're sort of talking about the side, when Justin went off, you improved. It might just be like you said, to do with the crowd as well. I don't know whether, because Thomas, I'm a huge fan of the fact that he's left-footed. I think that's sort of done the balance right. Your front, Dewsbury Hall, I'm a huge fan of. Dakar, obviously, when you've got good players. I know you've had players injured, but I was winding you up in the chat on Friday saying it's going to be comfortable. But in my head, I wasn't, because we're not playing great either. We've not been playing great. We've been grinding out the results, but with regards to the defender thing, that's what was happened before Ogbonna got injured. We was fine defensively, not really conceding. We've still got a positive goal difference, but then in the space of 2 weeks, we lost Zuma, Creswell, and we lost all of our back four within 2 games. So then, like, around Christmas, that's when we lost the point. So I know what you mean with regards to defenders.
I mean, Craig, I thought this was the more important game than Liverpool. I mean, you know, the fact that we'd lost to Nottingham Forest, if we'd have lost to Man City, we'd have said, okay, we're playing Man City. But we're playing our biggest rivals that we haven't played for 8 years. We're away at their place. You know, if the crowd, and I questioned whether, you know, the fact that we've probably got one local lad in the team, whether these local derbies mean anything to some of these players. But the fact that we lost to Forest, we didn't go down fighting for that one. We basically just put the white flag up from the start. And then I was thinking that, well, okay, we've got Liverpool away. Maybe that's a bit of a free hit, but it'll give them time to come in. But for me, the performance against West Ham was the one. They were at home. It was interesting to see how the crowd were going to react. And to me, this was the bigger game.
True. I'm going to say, I think it was important, though, that we didn't get done by a hatful against Liverpool, because that would have been really hard to come back from everyone, to be honest. You know, to go out in that cup tie in the manner that we did, to then go and concede a sackful against Liverpool would have been really difficult. So I wasn't particularly expecting a lot from the Liverpool game, other than let's try and keep it down, let's keep it respectable almost, and kick on.
People seem to be impressed. I'll stick with you this, Craig. People seem to be impressed with the Liverpool performance. I wasn't. Yeah, and I kind of watched that and thought, okay, 2-0. I always felt like Liverpool were only in second gear. It was almost like, we know we can do this. We don't have to sort of break a sweat out to beat Leicester. What was the general feeling? I mean, you were there, Craig. What was the general feeling in the Leicester crowd?
On which one are we on about now?
In the West Ham game.
In the West Ham game,
yeah,
I think people were frustrated because it was just a slow start, and then the goal. The goal was just ridiculous, to be honest. I don't know. I assume that when the ball was down the other end, Bowen had tied the shoelaces together of our back four because they just seemed to just watch him run through the middle. But the one thing I would say is, at least we got a reaction. As the half went on, and definitely in that second half, where we had a really good, strong 20, 25 minutes, half an hour or so. And you always say that a team has to score when they're on top, and we did. We got ourselves in front. So there was a reaction. They reacted to what Brendan had said at halftime, which is encouraging. It's the classic thing, though, isn't it? Whenever that happens at any team, I'm sure you're the same, Andy. When a team's crap in the first half and comes out the second half, you just think, well, where was that performance in the first half? Why do you not start a game like that? It's so frustrating. It just shows how mental football is. Because everyone who's playing in the Premier League, give or take one or two in our squad, are decent players. You have to be to get there. So it's the mental side of the game, and it's the attitude that separates you. That's why, teams with lesser players, as it were, can be successful because they just have the right attitude.
As we used to be.
Exactly.
I mean, Andy, there's only Leicester fans, I think, could sing a song about an opposition player who's not even in the stadium. That was kind of like, I'm sat there totally embarrassed. I mean, had he still been playing, and we know who we were talking about here, if he's still been playing, then you're going to expect that he's going to get the banter. But I'm sat there watching it thinking, am I hearing that right? As a Leicester fan singing about him. But I mean, we know he probably didn't have a stomach bug, didn't we? Is that the end of his West Ham career?
No. I actually think he did. I really did. I really do think he did. He played on Tuesday. They said he's going to play on Saturday. The real test will be. I think he's fine. I think he is. I think he did have a stomach bug. Or I'm not. You've probably got a bit of exclusive.
And went straight down. He didn't stop. He could still come down on the coach, couldn't he?
But I have heard you're going to get an exclusive on here. I've heard rumours that his family, they're fearing for their life. They've been getting death threats, so that might have been playing on his mind. I'm not. The fact that he's gone all the way there.
Yeah.
Sort of thinks that he did have a stomach bug because he said he didn't eat all day and then he started. You've seen players get injured or pull out in the warm up. So the fact is,
Craig.
yeah. I mean, just on that, Andy, I don't think West Ham have done him any favours at all. There, to be honest, I think take him out the firing line for a couple of games. It looks like it's the right thing to do. Okay, it's not like you're on your last legs in terms of defenders. Just take him out. You can tell the world he's apologised. We've dealt with it internally. We've kept him out for a couple of games. It would have gone away a lot quicker than it has done. Nobody's condoning it because it was disgraceful behaviour. But there's ways and means of dealing with these things. And I don't think West Ham have helped him at all.
No, I agree. And that's where, the difference is between your owners and ours is that they were saying we're letting Moyes deal with it, but as a club, you should be the hierarchy should be going. No, we're banning him. We've done the fine. We should be banning him. So the fact that Moyes is getting stick, he's more annoying. But if the people above him are not tending to ban him, then you're going to play your best. That's like Vardy or something like that. If the club are not doing it, but. The one thing what I will say is obviously the club have not done it. Fair play to Moyes for playing him on Tuesday. The club have not said we're going to do anything, then you're going to play your best players. So I sort of understand what you're saying. But the thing what's more frustrating for me as a West Ham fan is obviously stuff going on with other clubs, which you probably know what I'm on about, this could be their second case, which they've been done in a matter of weeks. The fact that Zuma's getting more media attention than other stuff, which I think animal cruelty is bad, but
I do know what you mean, and I had this conversation earlier today with a friend, and I'm not an animal lover, but I don't condone what he did.
Yeah, no, neither do I. Yeah.
What is worth? We have to really get a sense of perspective here. And talking of that particular football club, good evening to Mike. How are you, sir? But I mean, I almost felt like David Moyes, you can't blame him, and I am not judging because he's a West Ham player, and it's up to you how you deal with him. And what actions you take, and I just think that it was almost as if the West Ham directors have sat there and gone, "Bloody hell, we're live on telly here. we don't want him to be sort of sat there and that's all coming out." But like you say, if he was, getting death threats, you can understand it. Although I don't condone that. But you look at Eric Cantona when he did the famous kung fu fighting dance. He was dealt with quite quickly by the club. Immediately gave him a ban, I believe, and then the FA came along and extended it. Is that right, Craig?
Yeah, but we did the same. Remember the COVID gate when we had players attending a party.
Yes.
And for me that was the manager getting involved and saying it's not acceptable. We have standards at the club. And it affected us because we were down to the bare bones. He just banned those players. They missed the next game.
That was against us, was it? That was against us when they.
Yeah, it was actually.
Yeah.
And I think we got a good idea on the back of it. But he made the decision that was the right thing to do. And I disagree with you a little bit, Andy. I think Moyes has to step up there because if he's the one who's been given the decision to make, you don't. It's the same way. I liken it to. Totally different, but I didn't like Southgate putting those kids on those penalties in the European final, because he knows if that goes wrong, what those kids are going to get. Nobody condones anything, but this is the world that we live in, sadly. So you take them out of the firing line and protect them a little bit if you can.
You see, I disagree with that, Craig, because if they are big enough to play for their country, if they are big enough to be in a squad that's going to play in a European Cup final, then you've got to be big enough to take the penalties. You can't be big enough to. I'm going to be a central midfield player, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to be.
Chris, but they all. My point isn't that they took penalties. The point is that the order that he put them. Okay, they all stood up. There's bigger professionals who didn't stand up.
Yes, no, I agree with that point.
Fair play to them. But he's choosing what order they go in. He knows the pressure that he's putting them on. My point is that if you can, for the long-term benefit of your player and the club, protect them a little bit, just do so. Because you're quite right. What's gone on at the other clubs is far worse. But it died down a little bit because you haven't seen that particular player.
Yeah, I think I sort of agree with you, Craig, as well on one aspect. But the way I see it is, no matter what game Zuma would have come back, he would have got stick. I think the reason why Moyes has picked him as well is if you're going to get stick, better off getting it out of the way as well. Do you see what I mean? I get it. I get it from both sides, but I've never been in this. Obviously, West Ham's my team, and we annoyed our friends at TalkSport today with it's football banter with the song What Got. I'm guessing you probably heard it loud and clear yesterday as well. But you've got to.
You've got to take a bit of banter. I mean, Vardy gets it every game about Rebecca Vardy and the Colleen, whatever she's called, Rooney case. Good evening to Brad, by the way. And I think, in fairness to Moyes, I think he's kind of buggered if he does, buggered if he doesn't. Because if you miss the top four by 2 points, it could, and he had taken him out of the game on Sunday, your fans would be mad, saying, "Bloody hell! If he played Zuma, we might not let those goals in."
But hindsight
is a wonderful thing.
Diop was man of the match yesterday for West Ham. For West Ham, that is.
Yes,
he was outstanding. So it's
I was going to say, it's not like Zuma's been pulling up trees. He's a solid defender, but it's not like he's come in and he's totally transformed your season, has he? You were having a great season before you got him, and he's not played every game. He took his time to get into the team, I think. But again, we're never party to what goes on behind the scenes, are we? We never get the full story.
So obviously we could sit here and talk about.
I want to say it is West Ham's problem. It was just in between all of this, a game of football did break out.
But no, the thing is, apparently, like since then, like this is what we've been told is volunteered to work at 10 animal charities. 3 of them have said, yeah, they'll take him. Like I'm just trying to defend our club as well, because not everyone sees what's going on behind. Like all they're seeing is Zuma's playing football, but obviously 250 grand to RSPCA is a lot of money, and obviously volunteering as well for charities as well, which is great.
It's all right. But anyway, like I say, a game of football did break out. Maybe I'm just pleased that for once it's not a Leicester player. It has been many times in the past. The second point I've got down here was, I'll come to you first with this, Craig. How easy was West Ham's first goal?
As I say, it's ridiculous. It's that professionalism to be aware and alert. That's what I was talking to my son about this. The thing that is the difference between the really top players and your average players is the mentality and the fact that they're switched on the whole time. Diaz isn't necessarily a better player than lots of others. Virgil van Dijk isn't necessarily a better player with a ball at his feet. He just reads the game. Top defenders sense danger. They're always looking at what might happen. As a striker, you think at what's the best thing that can happen. As a defender, you should be thinking what's the worst thing that should happen. You sort yourself out, even if it means that you're so tight to him. It's 3-on-1. You just block him off. It's a centre half. It's the middle of the pitch. I know you can't let him go and then bring him down, but you just got to be switched on at those points. It was a great finish from Bowen, and he's in fantastic form. I wish we'd have got him. We were linked with him heavily when you snapped him up. Really, I really like him as a player, and it was a great finish. So, but just shocking defending again.
I mean, he was Brad's one to watch. I thought if Brad does the one to watch, because whoever Craig used to pick as the one to watch in the preview show used to always score against us. He couldn't do the show the other night, so Brad did it. He picked Bowen and he scores against us. But I didn't know. I said the worst thing that could happen here is that West Ham go ahead and then the crowd get on Leicester's back. But for you, it was a great start, great goal, as Craig said, taken well. But you did a Leicester. You didn't capitalise on it.
No, I think it'll be interesting to see if we went in 1-0 at half time, what it would have been like. I think that goal did lift the crowd because whenever I go to a game, if it's on telly, I always watch it back. So I watched it when I got home. I watched the first hour of the game, and we didn't hear Leicester fans until 40th minute. Like obviously you could hear it. The volume wasn't that, but I don't know. Dewsbury Hall is a talent, and as soon as he's, it surprised me. Tillemans in the second half really did step up, like what you mentioned, but it was Dewsbury Hall in the first half. I think everything was going through him, and then him and Thomas started to get that understanding on that, and that's what unlocked us. That's the bit what unlocked us. But Soufal, our right back, he's had a mare. He was a signing. He made his debut to us last year when we beat you 3-0, and he's been outstanding. But the last 5 games, he's dreadful. But yeah, no, fair play to you. At the end of the day.
I made that comment, Craig, that if a player forces a manager to make a substitution, that player's doing something right.
Yeah.
And between them, Kieran Dewsbury Hall and Luke Thomas, they had such an understanding. We were getting so much down that side, that it forced David Moyes to make a change. I mean, for me, I think Kieran Dewsbury Hall, should we lose Tillemans, and it's now even murkier about actually whether he's going or not. And Brendan's now come out and said, well, he's not actually turned it down. The waters are muddied, very much so. But we might not actually need to go out and find somebody, because tell you what, Kieran Dewsbury Hall is a hot prospect, and he's not scared to run with the ball and attack the opposition.
No, he's not. I think they're different players, but he's definitely... He talked early on in the season, pre-season, in fact. He was interviewed quite a lot. He'd played a couple of pre-season games, and he said he'd come back from his loan at Luton. So I guess, Andy, that your mate may have seen quite a bit of him there. Yeah. And he said, he was quite blatant about it, saying, I want the players who have got the shirts to feel like they're under pressure, and this is my season to make an impact. And he's definitely, grabbed that opportunity. You could see as that comment there, it was like, get the ball to Dewsbury Hall and he'll just get it out to Barnes. And for once, we almost played on a weakness. You could see that was happening, and we actually followed it through and gave Soufal a terrible time. I mean, Fredericks came on and changed it a little bit, but to be honest, there was one occasion where Fredericks looked like he was running through sand when he was trying to get back at one point. But no, it was a good. I thought Thomas had a great game. To be fair, it's
Thomas as well, exactly. Yeah,
you noticed that as well, Andy. That I think you're right. I think it did strengthen us down that side. There's not a lot on him, but he does like to get in. He puts his foot in. He's not scared of the physical side of it, and he's only 20. I think you're never going to have a great game every game at that age.
No.
But he's put enough decent performances in to make us think that we've got a player there.
I mean, you look at, you say he's only 20, but he's had European experience. He scored in the Europa Cup. So if you're young enough, I would say you're good enough. A quick question for Andy here from Nippon. Are you walking around your house again, Nippon? Like I say, because you have got an absolute mansion that you live in. He took a tour the other day while he was on the show, and my God, it went on forever. Do you think Southgate's going to give Jared Bowen a call up?
No. To be perfectly honest, I think he gets underlooked. He's played. Put me on the spot. I put it on today on my Twitter. He's played 35 games. 12 goals and 11 assists. No other England player in that position's anywhere close, but because he doesn't play for the Super Six, he's not going to get picked.
No. LDH, you taught him when he was 6. You're not related to him, are you? I mean, LDH related to KDH at all? His mother or his father at all? He is an amazing talent. But yeah, I mean, it's like when Southgate, and I don't want to get into a Southgate argument here, but when he first took over and he said, I'm going to pick a player, whatever club they're from, and he's kind of gone back on that. But coming back to you, Andy, the penalty. It was a penalty, wasn't it? There was no question.
Oh my God, yeah. he sort of mentioned it after, because I watched a bit. Obviously, in the stadium, you don't really see the replays and stuff like that. He was pointing to. We can tell the players nowadays, especially you will probably say, seen Butcher with the blood. He was more worried about his hair. It looked like he was going like that because a bit of water got in his hair when the ball come in. I think that's why he had his arm up. But no, can't complain. And good penalty. Fabianski's got a good record at saving penalties, but nowhere near that one.
I must admit, Craig, from watching it on the TV, and Brad had to go at me because, of course, Brad is in the goalkeepers union. That I thought it didn't look a brilliant penalty, and it was actually quite. Fabianski was quite close to saving it, but apparently, and you may have seen it differently. I don't know exactly sure where you sit in the stand, but apparently, like Andy said, there it was a really good penalty.
Yeah, I'm level with the 18-yard box at the other end.
Right.
Even I from down there, I could see it was a penalty. I shouted it straight away. Mm-hmm. But no, I thought it was a solid penalty. I think And anyone that's curling away from the keeper, as it did, I think it went right in the corner and hit with enough pace. You know, a keeper's going to do well to get to. I thought it was a solid penalty. I couldn't give Fabianski any blame for that.
To be honest with you, it was better than Salah's, wasn't it?
better than Zaha's as well.
Well,
Yes.
yes. Let's not get on to Lookman before we go any further. We'll go into
that was against us as well.
I'm quickly moving on. We're going to look at the second half straight after this.
Watch us on YouTube.
Listen on your favourite podcast platform.
Or ask your smart speaker
to play the podcast Leicester Till I Die.
Subscribe, like, follow, and join in now.
Indeed, please do subscribe to the channel. It does help. We are growing very slowly, and give the video, smash those likes on the video. That helped. Picture in the papers, I think it was from behind, and he's, like I say, he's like Superman. He's just sort of mid-air. I thought it was a great header.
I think it was a foul.
Come on then.
No, I'm joking. It's a great header. It was a great header. Great build up. Harvey Barnes. I think when we done the reverse fixture, wasn't it, Chris? When I come on, I'm a huge admirer, and I think maybe he could have been the difference in the Euros if he was fit. I think he would have started and made the difference, in my opinion. But yeah, skin Sue foul. Great ball in. Creswell, you could probably say maybe a slight little shove or something could have made a difference, but no, can't take nothing away from the header.
No. Craig, great goal. We were leading in a game. We'd come from behind in a game. It couldn't last. But I mean, at that point, did you think we were going to go on? To me, at that point, I think there was only one team that was going to win the game.
Potentially, but then you know, with us, that West Ham at some point are going to get a corner. So you never, in recent weeks, Leicester fans will only believe we'll actually won a game when they're in the bath, because we can lose really, really late. Yeah.
Can
But,
I just say on that point, any Tottenham fans, TM's watching. I don't know if you're still in TM, but Southampton 3, Tottenham 2. How did that feel? I love Southampton for doing that to you. I said I'd love it if they went and beat you. Love it. And they did. How did it feel? No, joking apart.
We had the momentum then. I think we'd gone close just before that when Barnes had slid one across the box and Daka just didn't get there on time.
Gascoigne in the World Cup mode.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? Longer studs.
Yes.
If he'd have got his Wayne Rooney studs on, then he may have scored that. But no, we were looking solid then. But the problem is when you're not playing with a lot of confidence, you naturally start to sit back a little bit and you start to protect your lead. And it's the worst thing, Go and get the third. It was like, did we not learn from Tottenham? Go and get the third. Control the game as much as you can. Get on the ball. It's a basic thing, isn't it? That one of the first things you taught, opposition are not going to score if they haven't got the ball, unless you've got Frank Sinclair in your team. But and we didn't do that. That should have been the tactic at that point. Just control the game, play it at your pace, keep the ball, and we just got further and further back. Obviously, Moyes is going to make changes.
I think the changes made the difference, Craig. To be honest, Ben Rama, as soon as he come on, he just won it, and I just saw him started driving at you, and he got a couple of close getting into it, and I think that's when the gap started to get, because you were dropping more and more back, wasn't you? To try and stop it.
To be honest, I thought Lanzini and Fornals both had poor games. I was, in the nicest possible way, I was expecting a bit more, particularly from Fornals, because he's had a good season. And Lanzini, when he's on top of his game, is a great player. But I thought they were both off the pace a little bit yesterday.
I mean, before we get on to was it a goal? Wasn't it a goal? Should have been allowed. Should have been disallowed. Before that, Casper and Daniel had a bit of a coming together. I was watching that, and there was a West Ham player down, and I've got to be honest with you here, Andy. I did comment in the first half that your players were going down quicker and more often than a horse panties on a busy night. You did seem to fall over at every particular opportunity, but in that one, we seemed to carry on, and it went to Daniel, and he just. I mean, what do you think? I'll come to you, Craig. What do you think? I mean, Casper was going mad at him, but it's gentlemanly conduct. You should get the ball out. Well, you don't have to, do you? But
it's a really tricky one. I don't think the instruction isn't it? Unless it's a head injury, you play on, or something really serious. And you're right, West Ham. I can't say that our players don't. I think it's something that is in the modern game, and I really don't like it. The players going down. I mean, Antonio did it. I think he kicked his hand, didn't he? I think it was he'd hurt his hand or whatever. I'm thinking that if I bunk my knee on the coffee table, I should throw myself on the floor, because that's the equivalent of what these players are doing. And it seems to be the modern way this day. Any contact, you just throw yourself on the floor. You're going to get a free kick or something's going to happen. But yeah, I wish Casper would get as annoyed when Johnny Evans stands there with the ball at his feet doing nothing.
I was waiting for that.
Yeah, as he did with that. But it was weird, because I thought, if you do something, Amarty, either play on or kick it out. The fact that he could just stop there, I'm sure people were looking at the TVs thinking, as it paused, they've accidentally hit the pause button. He just stood there with it. And then
you're waiting for a little circle to come up in the middle of the stream.
Exactly. Yeah. It's just bizarre.
Yeah. We'll get on to what happened just before the goal in a second, but just to bring Andy in, and I always say the easiest when I see something that goes against us, I always try and think, well, if I was a fan of the other team, what would I be doing? Now, you've seen that if that had gone the other way, and if Leicester had scored a second goal like that, and we were 2-1 down, would you have been claiming for the handball?
Yeah, you've got to defend your team, haven't you? You've got to defend your team. I agree with what Craig's saying. I wouldn't say, obviously, watching the game back, like bits and bobs of it, but when you're in the stadium, it's a lot difficult to realise what's a foul and what isn't. But in my opinion, I'm not a huge fan of him. I thought Michael Oliver had quite a poor game yesterday. He was trying to let the game flow and then wasn't, trying to take control and then what wasn't. It really does depend on what ref turns up as well. But yeah, with regards to Kasper Schmeichel, you're away team. You've got to make yourself heard. So you pick on anyone when anything happens or cheers. You've got to, haven't you? Really?
I mean, Craig, where does the shoulder end and the arm start?
I got to say, I do exactly the same. You know me, and I will always call it as I see it. What would I think the other way round? If we'd have scored that, I'd have thought we were very lucky to get it, to be honest, because looking at it, I saw it on Match of the Day, and even they were split. Glenn Murray was saying it was a goal. Jermaine Jenas was saying it's never a goal. I think when you look at how far down his arm it was, I'm very surprised that they didn't rule that out, to be honest. If it was higher up, it is what it is. I don't particularly like it.
To me, I would say the shoulder, well, where those stripes end, basically.
Yeah.
Top, and anything down the side.
It was half on it. It was half on the shirt, half on the arm. And to me, if it's
low enough down for handball, I think.
Yeah, if it's hitting the skin, it's got to be a bit of handball. I thought, if he'd have headed it onto his arm, fair enough. Because when people were saying a handball, I thought if he's headed it onto his arm, okay, fair enough. It's a goal. He's got his head on it. But the fact that he didn't get anything on it other than his arm, I thought we were unlucky to not get that one disallowed.
Like I said, I'm just claiming it because we're losing. Yeah. Like you've got to. You've got to. I'm not going to sit here and go, "Oh no, disallow."
That says it all. That comment says it all. I'm claiming it because I've got to. I mean, but when you look at the Middlesbrough goal against Man United in the FA Cup, that that hit his hand quite further down, and he still was a goal. So I don't know. I can't keep up with the rules.
With VAR, Chris, like you said, it shouldn't be referees doing both. They should get ex-referees who are probably sitting at home doing nothing. Like a lot of them get one ex-referee and one ex-player, and then let them fight and hear it. That's the only way to get around it.
I've said this many a time. There's so many players. Julian Watts, for example, who I'm doing a show with in a couple of hours. You know, he's an ex-player, ex-Leicester player. He'd love to do it. You know, and as ex-players, you know, how many of these referees have actually played the game at a decent level? Now, Julian, he's in financial business, so he's not made a fortune off his playing career, but he understands the rules from a player's point of view. You know,
no disrespect. A referee is normally a person who's crap at football, and that's the reason why they're a referee.
Well, possibly. But then why? You know, again, why? You have to ask the question: why aren't more ex-players? And again, I know like you will never get Wayne Rooney being a ref, but the players from the lower divisions that aren't going to have the sort of career maybe that in journalism or with Sky that some of the players are getting. Why aren't they going into reffing? There's something stopping there.
You know, Mike Dean is on 150 grand a week standard wage, and 1,500 quid per game he does. Just to let you know.
Yeah. Bloody I mean, I can't blame the referee. It's Michael Oliver, wasn't it? I can't blame him for that because I think he was unsighted. But that's why we have VAR, isn't it? But
on that, I think on that one he should have been asked to have a look because it was such a borderline thing. I would much rather that the referee on the field of play takes that final decision on something like that. If it's clear cut, fair enough. If there's any ambiguity, let the referee on the field of play take a look and make a decision. I hate the fact that it's just somebody up in a booth. And you're quite right. You know, ex-players would have much more of an idea. You've seen it come into the game the last few years. The number of fouls and penalties that are given when contact is initiated by the forward, putting their foot across, in front of defenders to initiate it. They're clever. They know that whoever's in the box isn't clever enough to realise what's going on. You need an ex-player to put a different perspective on it.
VAR works in all other sports except for football. It's amazing, and football's the most.
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, Craig, whether it was a penalty or not, and for once, I am not going to blame Vestergaard because I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt because at the end of the day, he's come in. He wasn't a bad defender for Southampton. I mean, he wasn't the only player on the pitch when we beat them 9-0, and he wasn't the only player on the pitch when Man United beat them 9-0. There was a whole team there, but he did come into a back four. He got injured or a defensive of Leicester that he didn't know that it was 4-3-5 each different week, and because of the injuries, he had a different partner, and it was hard. And then he got his own injury. 2 minutes to go, at a corner, you decide to make a substitution.
Yeah, I'm going to say it. Let's say, I mean, he probably wasn't even marking Dawson, but let's put three people into this equation. So you've got Rodgers, you've got Vestergaard, and you've got Schmeichel. Vestergaard is the least culpable of those three players for me. One, as we've touched on earlier, Schmeichel should be coming out and taking everybody and the ball. I don't care if you don't get the ball, take everyone else. You've got to command that area. But the first thing, and as I said it on my piece after the game, Rodgers has to take responsibility for that decision. You're basically saying, I'm going to give up control of the ball. You have it, throw it in the box. We'll try and defend it. The better managers, better teams see out games by controlling the ball, not controlling where that ball goes, and defending it and giving it to the opposition, saying, you just have it. We should have, as I say, if he wanted to do that, put Ndidi back there and bring Mendy on, someone who has been good down the years, just seeing out games. That's been his job. Mendy has rarely started a game for us.
But we had that back four that were had played 90 plus minutes, were used to where everybody was, and suddenly somebody comes on, and
I
you
don't
think,
think we'd
hang on,
struggled.
where are we all going now?
No, I don't think, I understand. Yeah, if you're bringing on someone who's commanding, fair enough, but he's not. I'd say it's not his fault. But for me, if you want to put another man back, just move Ndidi back, but bring somebody on who can control the ball in the middle of the pitch. Just keep the ball away from the goal. Don't sit back and just invite them to pile it on. For me, sadly, that was Rodgers.
Yeah, no, I totally blame him. And anybody who watched the post-match show and the fact that I rechristened him Brendan Bellend will know my feelings towards him. That was definitely down to him. I mean, I'm interested in your thoughts on this, Andy, because the Telegraph football journalist Luke Edwards has said Leicester have reached their ceiling and need a rebuild in the summer. Leicester are having one of those seasons. They've been punching above their weight for a couple of seasons, and they'll have to put this year down to the start of a rebuild. I mean, Ferguson did that at Man United. As long as he had 3 or 4 different teams in his whole tenure there. Do you looking at Leicester? Do you think that's what we need? Because we've got players there that we know can play well. But we also know we might be losing Tielemans. We know that Schmeichel and Vardy were there from the Premier League winning team. And because I'm just thinking, the position we're in might be you in a couple of seasons. No disrespect. But,
you've got to look at the average age of your team, really. We're sort of the same when you think about it. With our old Casper, 34 now, is he? Or is he not that old? Am I disrespecting
Something like that, I think.
Yeah. Fabianski's 36, so they're sort of similar. Antonio's 32. I know Jamie Vardy's a little bit older, but he's our main vocal point. It's getting that balance right. It is getting that balance, but I think that's been a bit harsh with regards to the rebuild. It's just the amount of money you've had success, you've had silverware. You can't say that it's been a failure. Do you know what I mean?
No.
I think the mistake what we done was when we moved to the London Stadium, we were promised next level football. I think we brought 11 players in one summer, and that was the worst mistake of our life. I think 10 of them left after the first year or before. So it's a slow but you are fine. I reckon it's out of us. One of us both of us will finish in the top 8, but who will finish higher, I don't know.
I will take that, finishing the top 8 at the moment. Do you agree with what the Telegraph journalist said there, Craig? Have we been, are we suffering because of our own success?
Yeah, I think so, and I know you get knocked down when you say that, to be honest, but it is true. We've maximised the squad that we've had. Even last year, we had injuries last year, but we managed to battle through it because I think we had Vardy for a lot of that season, staying fit, so we had goals. It's teams that evolve, and you're right, bringing up Ferguson. Wenger did the same. They have 3-4 teams in their tenure. Yeah. What happens this day and age is it's not the team that evolves. The manager gets booted out in the hope that someone else can come in and do the same with the same players. And I think sometimes, based on what he's done, 2 5th place finishes and an FA Cup, whatever you think of him, I'm not his biggest fan. I think he's earned a summer to rebuild and see what happens.
The best managers do that,
How many ex-players have you got on the coaching staff around the first team on the under-23s? Have you got many?
I think there's a few. On the first team, you've got Kolo Toure, not ex-Leicester players. We haven't.
Yeah. Because I think that's the key for us. Like we've got someone. Obviously, Mark Noble's retiring at the end of the season, and we've got Kevin Nolan. I think once you get that balance, and you've got that person who's obviously Kevin Nolan's ex-captain as well, so he's got that understanding. He can have that. I think that having that relationship where you've got someone, not just the assistant manager and the captain, a coach, a player, a person who's got that experience, knows what the fans want, knows what the board want, knows what the players want. I think that really helps, and I think Kevin Nolan is the main reason why we've been successful as well.
Yeah.
And I would just like to say at this point that it wasn't all doom and gloom around Leicester, because you couldn't beat the women's team either. West Ham, Leicester City women gave, and they're finally. I mean, I did actually say we should play the women's team in the Premier League, because at the end of the day they showed more guts and fight than some of the men did. Fourth, Andy. 41 points, 6 behind Chelsea, but played a game more. 1 point above Man United, played a game more. 2 points above Arsenal, but played 3 games more. I mean, we know how hard it is to hold on to that 4th place. So, how do you see the rest of your season going?
We said this when you come on my show, Chris, when we were sort of comparing the sides when you won the league, and I wasn't saying I was getting ahead of myself. I knew we weren't going to win the league.
No.
But
was that the time when we ended up with sort of 9 Leicester players and 2 West Ham players in the combined team?
Yeah, no, but it was just comparing the differences, wasn't it?
I guess.
But I think we're going to win a trophy. I think we're either going to win the FA Cup or Europa League. And I think that time will tell. I would love us. You've said it as well. It'd be nice. Like, you've broke the bank. You've won the Premier League. You've won the FA Cup. It would be nice for someone different to do it. And I think it would be amazing for the fans. Obviously, 1980 is the last time we won a trophy. But I think we're going to probably finish 9th realistically, and I think we'll probably get to a semi-final within the FA Cup or Europa League.
Craig, now looking at Leicester, 11th. We were 10th at one point, but that gap is getting slightly bigger every week between the top. So we're not going to qualify for Europe, I don't believe. But we haven't said that we're not going to get relegated. We're not going to be sucked into the relegation battle, I don't believe. Famous last words, though. Are all our eggs in the Conference League basket?
I think so. To be honest, for European football, I think that's, as I said to you, I remember going back to that last game against Napoli. I was a bit of a lone voice saying it's not as terrible as it sounds if we lose and go out, because we weren't playing well enough. I think we'd have struggled getting through any more Europa League grounds. This is our best chance, and was even back then, a few months ago, our best chance of having European football next season. So I think, he's got to go strong. We need a little bit of luck in terms of the draw, but if we finish top half of the season, top half of the table at the end of the season, I'll take that, to be honest, because if you have a bad season, it used to be teams like us, like yourselves, Andy, if you have a bad season, you end up going down. Because that's just the way it seemed to work out. You could have 4 or 5 decent seasons in a run. As soon as you had a bad one, you got tripped up and you were out and you got relegated. If we have a bad season and we finish 12th, that probably shows some progress.
Yeah, and I've got to say, we're going to look just before we go now at the poll result for Leicester fans as to whether Rodgers should stay or go, to quote a Clash song, and it did kind of fluctuate between the two. Now, 61% of the people who expressed an opinion, you can tell I used to work in sales, can't you? 61% of the people who expressed an opinion said that Rodgers should be gone. 39% said he should stay. Now, I don't see what good it would do getting rid of Rodgers at this point, because he hasn't got a whoever comes in hasn't got a transfer window, and when you change your managers, you're basically ripping up everything that the previous manager did, and you're starting again because you have a different idea, different formations, etc. Now, Claudio, we were either in or just above the relegation zone when he went, and that would then be a different story. And like you said earlier, we've got to make give him, I think, the summer to try and rebuild, and that's what he's hinted at. But I mean, Klopp at Liverpool had a season where he literally, if Liverpool had entered the one-legged race for Merseyside, Liverpool would have won it. They were winning everything. The next season, they won Sweet FA, but they weren't calling for Klopp to go. Were you surprised at that, Craig? 61-39?
Yes and no. Usually the people who have an opinion, it's quite extreme, isn't it? And I know I don't want to fall into that, pre-league winners and post-league winners, but there clearly is some of that. I mean, at the end of it, we've had 2 top 5 finishes, so 2 European place finishes, and we've won the FA Cup.
Yeah.
For me, there's a lot I don't like about Brendan, but for me, that gives him enough points in the bank to allow him a summer to try and rebuild.
Yes, yeah. And looking at us, Andy, I mean, I always say that I find myself sometimes, and I have to sort of almost slap myself to stop me saying it. I think I'm almost turning into an Arsenal fan, because I'm looking at it and saying, yeah, is this a bad season because we've done so well for the last 2 seasons? And that's kind of Arsenal's attitude. We don't want the Europa Conference League. We should be in the Champions League because we always were. And when you look at Leicester and the fans, do you think we're getting a bit that way?
Yeah, be careful what you wish for.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Majority of the fans done that with us. David Moyes done a fantastic job keeping us up. We got Pellegrini. Look what happened 18 months later.
Yes. Yeah. No.
But the thing what's surprising me is the odds. He's the favourite. Brendan Rodgers is the favourite. The next favourite manager to leave at 4 to 5 on.
He is. But I just don't see why change the manager now. What is the point?
The only thing I can think of is if you change the manager now, he's got 3 months of working out who he wants to keep and who he isn't, and you've got the targets, and you can do the business early.
Yeah,
but
if you're right,
the thing is, you're surely not going to get the person that you want. I mean, look at what Man U have done. If a team as big as Man U can change manager in mid-season and not go and get the manager that they want, Leicester aren't going to either.
No.
So you end up with either an interim who is pointless because you're trying to motivate players who know that you're going to be gone in the summer.
Not working at Man United.
I think the perfect manager for you is Graham Potter, because I actually think he's Chris, you may say that. Look where he's got Brighton. They're 9th in the league, and they probably play similar to you. The only difference is they haven't got a goal scorer. That is the only difference.
Yeah.
I want to see him win something. I mean, this is the stupidity of some fans that they were saying we should have Cooper, the manager of Nottingham Forest, because look what he's done at Forest, and it beat us in 1 game. It doesn't make him a good manager.
So, Chris, let's say, for instance, would you take Pochettino tomorrow?
No, because I don't think he's the right sort of manager for us.
Right. Okay. So who is?
I don't know, because I want to keep watching.
The only reason I say that is, Chris, is because of what you just said. You want to see him win something. So of all the managers who have won something, who are Leicester going to get?
No, it's a good point. It is a good point. I think it's just because everybody's bigging him up as this next. But he's going to be England manager. He should get rid of Southgate, get him in there, and I don't know. See, I don't want Rodgers to go because I think Rodgers should be given more time. Maybe we should go for David Moyes. I mean, he's proved, and I'm not joking there.
I like him. I didn't want him to leave first time. I think I spoke to you. I didn't want him to leave first. The difference is with David Moyes. With David Moyes, you know what you're going to get.
Yeah.
Play counter-attacking football. We've done that with Everton. But the thing is, we play good football at the same time.
Yes.
I said this earlier in the season, Andy, that West Ham were the team that I enjoyed watching. I think you've dipped a little bit, but earlier in the season, you were the most entertaining team to watch because as soon as you got the ball, and you weren't playing long ball, but you just wanted to go forward. That was the only thought in nearly all of your players. Can we move the ball forward quickly? And that doesn't have to be a Burnley way. It's move it through the pitch. And you were doing that fantastic. I'd rather, Brendan stayed. what I do like about Potter is the fact that he knows how to get the most out of the players that he's got, and they clearly have 2 or 3 systems to work through. One to try and protect a lead, one just your standard start the game. But the number of times they've come from behind in games.
Second highest, we're the highest. We've got 13 points, they've got 10 from losing positions.
He's clearly got something. You know, they've outplayed teams. They outplayed Chelsea, they outplayed Liverpool, they outplayed Man City for 20 minutes. You're doing something right. I'm not saying he's the next best thing, but what I'm saying is, out of the managers who could be available to us, he has to be in the conversation.
And this is the thing, and yeah, I accept that. And this is the thing, you know, at the end of the day, we are Leicester. So who we are going to, you know, we would never attract a Pochettino, you know. I mean, you know, Everton, who you could argue historically are a bigger club than us, attracted Ancelotti, who every fan wanted and was linked with every time we got rid of a manager and never came. He couldn't wait to jump ship as soon as Real Madrid came knocking. You know, it's you have got to be careful what you wish for, because we got an ex-England youth manager who was unbeaten at that level that came in after Martin O'Neill and completely destroyed the club. And you know, I worked for Blackburn Rovers for a time, and I can remember that their fans absolutely hated Sam Allardyce and his type of football, and they'd just been bought by the Venkies at the time off Jack Walker, and they got rid of Sam Allardyce because they thought, oh, we're going to please the crowd. You know, we're new owners. The crowd don't want Sam Allardyce. Let's get rid of him. And they appointed Steve Keane, who was like a youth team coach or something. And they went down to the 3rd tier. So, like Andy says, yes, be careful what you wish for, you know. But I'm just wishing for a top 10 finish. So whether we will get that or not, I don't know. Brendan given a 5-year contract, says Rob. Well, yeah, I mean, I don't see my last point here with you, Craig, is that it was Top who said who retained Pearson when Vichai wanted to sack him. That Sunday when he was sacked, he wasn't sacked. Is he?
Yeah.
Isn't he? And of course, we then know went on. So I don't necessarily think that Top is a sacking manager. You know, I think he actually, and there's no disrespect to his dad, of course, but I think he kind of would be looking at this and thinking, no, let's give him a bit more time. We're not going to go down. Let's see a rebuild. And I think that's going to work in our favour.
Yeah, I think, you know, you've got to trust the owners. I mean, they've barely put a foot wrong, you know, since they've come into the club. You know, they made those brash statements early on. I remember reacting to the chairman or Vichai coming out in that press conference and saying we were going to have European football within the next 5 years. And you just think, just keep your mouth shut. You've only just come into the club. Lo and behold, we've won the Premier League within 3 seasons. Yeah. So, yeah, I think you just have to trust that they know what they're doing. They know what they want for the club. They have a vision, you know, and I think they would be ruthless enough to do what they think is right.
Oh, they will.
If and when the time comes.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think they'll be rushed into a decision. I think that's, but, you know, we never saw Rodgers, you know, that decision coming. No. Talking of owners, Andy, your owners. Dare I mention them at all?
Thanks, Chris. Thanks.
Yeah. I thought, come on, mate. You scored a last-minute goal. I thought I'd sneak this question in as a last-minute question.
They'll be gone next summer. 2023 is when they don't have to pay the 25% whatever they get of the sale of the club. That was the agreement when we moved to the stadium. Obviously, the new person, Kretinsky's a Czech billionaire. He'll take full control, I think. But the problem is, who do you believe in, who you don't? I think Moyes. Apparently, Moyes treats the transfer money like his own money. He's not going to go out and buy anyone for the sake of it. And apparently, the striker, what we wanted, etc., wasn't available. But I think this summer is exactly the same as yours. I know people will laugh it off, but I think if we bidded 50 million for Calvin Phillips, I think he will come to us. If we're attracting players like that, the relationship what he had with Declan Rice in the window, I think it would be a success. So as long as I think with us, if we get 3 or 4 players in the summer, I think we can push on again.
Yeah, and there's no point buying just for the sake of buying. I mean, it's amazing how many clubs didn't buy anybody.
We put all of our eggs in one basket on Lingard. We put all of our. I think Lingard would have been the difference for us personally, but obviously Man United didn't want to sell it to a top 4 rival. It's mad how United have fallen, hasn't it?
I think that a part of that was also the fact that what had gone on a couple of days before. I think that weakened their squad, didn't it? So I think Lingard's going to get more chance of game time.
But you might get him cheaper in the summer.
Yeah, no, definitely.
If we don't go in for him, because apparently we're going for every player.
But like you said, Chris, we have banter. But me and you, whenever we've spoke, we've said it. I'm a Leicester fan. When obviously West Ham are not playing, clubs like this, we've got to try and break that Super Six, and it's great because we've not got the spending power of the big 6, have we? You go out and splash the cash, so it's always good.
I would love it to be Leicester, of course I would do. But if Leicester can't do it, then West Ham, you go and do it, and you try and smash the top. I mean, even Newcastle. I know they've got all the money now, but I can't wait till they're up there and they're outbidding Man City for players and what have you. It's going to be.
It's mad, isn't it? It is mad.
It's going to be well done, Newcastle.
I can't, and I've said this before, Chris. I can't get behind Newcastle until they put the away fans in a decent place in that stadium.
You did say that.
That's a track, isn't it? We had it on the Craig, we had it on the first game of the season, hottest day probably of the year. Got all the way to the top, and they wouldn't even open the windows up there. At the time we walked all the way up them stairs.
As I said to you, you might as well watch the game on TV. You're that far away.
Yeah, it's a bit of a joke. Well, thanks for joining us, Andy.
No, it's a pleasure.
It was all square at the end of the day. We didn't lose, and we did sort of.
I respect the point. I respect the point. I respect the point. And a point away from home in the Premier League, no matter who you face, it's better than no points.
But to be honest, the way we lost it is the bit that hurts.
Yes,
a draw's probably a fair result over the 90.
It is the manner, isn't it? Like with the Tottenham thing, you couldn't argue maybe they deserved to win, but it was the way it happened. Andy, we probably won't speak again the rest of the season. Who knows? But I think we've had our share of meetings, but we'll probably get something together. But anyway, but thanks for coming on again.
Nice meeting you and Craig as well.
Yeah, you too, Andy. Cheers, mate.
Tell us all where people can find you again. Just remind people.
Yeah, West Ham Reunited. I'm on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Add ex-player interviews as well, like you. Breaking news, player appreciations. To be honest, I'm not going to lie. I don't do stuff about other clubs really. It's mainly about West Ham. But if you're intrigued on how we're getting on, if we're facing you anytime soon, come and have a look.
Yeah, we do. There's various programs we do here where. You'd be more than welcome, review weekend.
Oh yeah, I've done that, didn't I? And it was that week when we faced you. Probably. You remember when we won 4-1? You went, sorry.
It works out like that. Yeah. Thanks for reminding me.
No, but good luck for the rest of the season.
And
thanks
you
for
as
having
well,
me on.
mate. Go smash that top 4, mate.
Take care. Cheers, bye bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye bye. Oh, and he's gone. Craig, as always, sir, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
I don't know. I haven't been doing this, but I've started to do it with Brad. Do you want to give out any Facebook or Twitter accounts, or are you quite happy as you are?
I'm quite happy. People can find me. I'm all over it. So just Craig Bird on social media, you'll find me. I was an early Twitter adopter. I didn't even need a number after my name.
That's how they say. That's an age thing, isn't it?
It is.
Thanks so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
We'll see you probably in a couple of weeks' time. Take care of yourself. Europe's back.
Yes.
Fingers crossed. And just to say, this is we have got a quiz this week on Wednesday. It's the football quiz 2. So it's the opposing fans, and this every week, every time we do it, we have 4 different rounds, and the 4 rounds we've got, because you're going to be taking on the winner between Reese and Mike. But round 1 is I know where you live. Round 2 is Dead or Alive. Round 3 is that a trophy in your pocket or are you pleased to see me? And round 4 is What did you just call me? So it's going to be a very interesting quiz. It's a bit like, are you old enough to remember 3, 2, 1?
I am indeed, yeah.
It's almost as cryptic as that, I'll tell you.
With Brendan Rodgers' dad, yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Maybe we should get him. He might be able to organise a defence.
Yeah,
and certainly be able to put any rubbish players in the bin.
Very good. What a beautiful way to end, Chris. Well done.
Indeed. Craig, all the best, mate, to you and your family. Thanks very much. And we'll speak soon.
Thanks,
Take care.
everyone. Cheers. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Thanks to Craig for coming in, my wise old owl. I'm going to be back in 39 minutes. We're going to have the weekend review. We're going to be looking at the weekend and some of the midweek games from last week. And Julian's back, ladies. Put your knitting down. Get on. The top totty's back. Julian is back with us for this 9 o'clock tonight. Join us then. LDH, it is a fun quiz. It is I've been told it's a fun quiz. We've had great rounds that are different. It's just a laugh. 9 o'clock. Be here, LDH. Subscribe to the Scrap channel. Set a reminder. The show's in there in the upcoming show list. So subscribe, set a reminder. It is a laugh. Thanks very much to everybody for joining in. Thanks to Craig. Thanks to Andy. Thanks to everybody in the chat. If you've been watching, thank you very much. Remember, please tell your friends about us. And so give us a subscribe if you're on YouTube. And if you've been if you've been listening in on the podcast, thank you so much for doing that as well. I'll see you in 40 minutes. Take care. Stay safe. Good night.
Leicester Till I Die podcasts on the Apple iTunes, Spotify, Google, Anchor, and all podcast platforms.
The Leicester Till I Die shop is now open.
For all your Leicester Till I Die merchandise,
Visit the Leicester Till I Die shop at our website. Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
That's all, folks.
Some people are on the pitch, they think it's all over. It is now.